Welcome back to Zane Customs. In this week's episode, I'm going to recreate Minecraft's Evoker and Vex. So I started the sculpt off like I usually do in Forger, just to try and rough out a basic shape. And there's not a lot going on with the Evoker, just a few basic things that I want to go over. First off, the large nose that is in pretty much every humanoid figure in Minecraft, except for your actual player, but the villagers and even all the evil mobs that are humanoid, they all have big noses, and even some of the animals. So I made sure to do that, and like I did with the pillager, I didn't do an insanely big nose like the actual Minecraft model because I want it to be somewhat realistic, so I just try to give him a bigger nose than normal, but still look realistic. And then I wanted him to look old, and the main reason I wanted to do that is because the only other thing about his face that I noticed was the white, I'm assuming it's supposed to be hair, so I wanted to give him slicked back white hair, and him being kind of a magic type, I thought it kind of fit the style, having him be this old, kind of ancient, evil, creepy looking dude. But aside from that, the only other detail they really have is the robe. So all I'm doing here now is posing him to kind of mimic this picture on the right here, and then I'll do the actual robe and all that stuff in Zbrush when I move over to there. And now I'm working on his feet a little bit, but it being a Minecraft figure, there's not a lot of detail to start with, so and his feet specifically, there's not really much going on there, so I really had a lot of creative freedom with what I wanted to do there. And just because he had all these robes and everything, I thought this style of, it's not really a boot, more just like a cloth wrap, kind of fit with that whole style with what I was trying to go with. As far as the Forger part of the sculpt, it was actually pretty quick because, like I said, I just had to rough out the feet because they weren't that important, and then the head. Now moving over to the Vex, I had a lot of trouble with the Vex, and I don't know if this was the right kind of direction to take them, just because when I looked at the Vex, the first thing I thought of was like an evil Cupid, just because they're small and they have wings. They don't have a bow, but they have a sword, so that's just kind of what I thought of. But they're evil, so I wanted to take that, and I also didn't want to like sculpt an evil looking baby flying around with a sword, so I just kind of started freestyling, and I came up with kind of a creepy looking monster, but I think it fits. But the main trouble I had with him was getting the pose right. I tried a lot of different things and moved his arms back and forth, and everything just kept looking weird. And part of that I was happy with because I wanted him to look really unnatural. I didn't want it to look like disproportionate and weird, like I didn't understand anatomy and I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted it to be clear that I knew what I was doing, but I was just pushing things a little bit farther than maybe they would in real life. And you'll see by the end his rib cage protrudes pretty bad, and things like just stuff like that I really wanted to help sell that this was a really weird, unnatural looking creature, being, or whatever. And yeah, like I said, if you don't do it right, I think it'll come across more that you don't understand anatomy, rather than having it look a little bit off or a little bit unnatural. I still wanted it to look, plausible. I just want it to look unnatural at the same time. So it was a really hard line to toe for me. And one thing I really wanted to do, this is kind of similar to the style I took when I did the Enderman. I wanted to really show a lot of definition in the muscle, but have it be a really thin muscle. And also I made up certain parts of the muscle, or certain parts of his anatomy. There's certain muscles that go down his back that aren't realistic and things like that, but I really basically want it to be, like a somewhat muscly guy with basically no body fat. So he's really skinny, really skeletal, but still has, you can still see the muscle underneath the skin. And I think it turned out pretty well. The one thing that I don't know for sure how I feel about it is the texture, and you'll see that once I move to Zbrush. And unfortunately I lost some of the video footage, so it skips forward a little bit here. So now you can see I got the wings all set up, and this is one of the downsides of Forger. What I'm doing right here is remeshing, because you can see on the wings I got some really weird looking stuff going on, I just wanted to keep this in here instead of cut it out to really show you the downsides of Forger. I do love Forger, but it took that long to remesh it, and this is a time-lapse video that's sped up like 10 times or something by the end. That was a long time waiting for that to remesh so I can go in there and fix things. And I don't know if Forger's not really marketed as a professional tool, at least to my knowledge. So I don't know if it's really designed to do something this complex, because it was a pretty high poly model when I did that. But that's just something I wanted to keep in there to show you some of the struggles you can have with Forger, and that it might be easier just to go straight to ZBrush. And now here we are in ZBrush, and this is why I wanted to leave his robes for the ZBrush part of the sculpt, because ZBrush has a feature. It's fairly new. I think this year, maybe early or late last year, they added it. It's basically cloth dynamics, and you've seen it in some of my videos, and I've been trying to get better at it. Basically what you can do is just turn anything into cloth. So I just used these cylinders, put them around his body, turned it into cloth, and then it fell and hung on his body correctly. And the upside to it is I can do it quick and bust these videos out. And even once you're done, you can turn it back into a regular model and just sculpt on it how you want. And it's really a cool tool. It's kind of difficult. I've had a lot of trouble trying to get it to work exactly how I want it, but you can see this didn't take me that long. I was working on this for maybe an hour and a half, and it looks pretty decent. Whereas if I had to sculpt this just starting out of a sphere or a cube or whatever and turning it into this, I think I could have got there. I've done it with some of my old sculpts, but it just takes a lot longer. Also, part of the reason I wanted to use this cloth dynamics software instead of using, like I said, just turning a regular sphere into the robe or something like that, is because I've had a lot of projects going on lately, and I know in the past I've talked about I have a really big project coming, and I can't wait to show you guys. Unfortunately, that project's been put on hold. It's a collaboration with someone, so I don't know quite when they'll be ready for it, so I'll try to keep you guys updated on that whenever I can. I got the video made and just everything's ready to go. I just gotta wait till they're ready. But having that and a bunch of other things I've been working on for future videos, I didn't have as much time for this week's video, and a lot of these past videos for these last couple weeks, I haven't had as much time to do, because again, I've been working on those big projects. But hopefully starting next week and from then on out, I'll be back to my regular schedule and can get some better videos out and some higher quality sculpts, because this one I'm decently happy with the way it turned out. But like I said, I didn't have a lot of time with it, so I think it could have been better. And it's one of those things I'll probably go work on my downtime, but unfortunately for this video, it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. What I'm doing here though is basically I just want to make him look super ancient, super old, maybe like he's only alive because of the magic, you know. And I could have gave him a lot more wrinkles, but I added this texture that kind of has a stony effect. It kind of looks like skin if it's small enough, but when you make it this big, it kind of looks more like stone that's been chipped at or something. I think that kind of helped to make him look really old and really creepy. And one thing I did with this guy versus the pillager that I did a couple weeks ago is I made his nose go more to a point, and I don't know why. I don't think I even did it on purpose. I just kind of did it, but something about that made me really happy. I think it brought his whole face together. I think if his nose was more flat or more blunt, it would have kind of given me the feeling of a more gruff character, if that makes sense, you know, more of like a pillager, someone who's gonna fight, where this guy is just a little bit more creepy and maniacal and like an evil wizard type character. So I think just that little detail made me really happy with the way his face was going. Here I'm just throwing in some quick color. I'm still learning how to color skin. I'm not the best at it, but I think like adding in the little hints of red on his cheeks and a little bit darker around where his facial hair would be makes it look better. Again, I'm not perfect at it, so I think the red might be a little not subtle enough, but I think it's a lot better than if it was just solid peach or, you know, cream, whatever color you want to call that. And now I'm here cutting up the model for adding a surface texture. You do this thing called Unwrapping Uvs, and basically you just draw on there where cut lines would be, like in an actual piece of fabric or piece of clothing. If you have a seam line, you just draw that in there, and then it'll cut it up as if it is an actual piece of cloth. So when you add this texture on it that I just added here, it lays on there evenly and doesn't have any weird warping or anything like that. One thing I started to think about at this point, and I didn't do it because I was already so far along, but I thought it'd actually be kind of cool if the wind was blowing his robe forward towards where the vexes are coming from, just because originally I thought these vexes are going to kind of be popping out of nowhere, and if there's like a shockwave or some sort of force it's blowing him away. But it'd be cool if it was more sucking his robe in, because, you know, magic's weird. But I just left it how it was. And now here I'm working on the vex, and again I wanted them to look pretty creepy, and I might have gone too far. They kind of look like symbiotes, like Venom or Carnage, but really the only thing about these guys is they're blue. They have these creepy wings, and when I was looking at them I thought their smile was kind of creepy, so that's kind of why I did this big wide jaw smile, and also the texture across them. There was no, at least to me, I could not discern what they were trying to do texture wise. It just looked like randomness. So there's one thing you can actually do in Forger. They have a texture called noise, and it's basically, if any of you who have had old TVs, if you change to a channel that doesn't exist anymore, it's not connected somehow, you just got that gray static. That's basically what noise is. You just can add that onto your model, and a lot of people do it just to kind of fill in some blank areas if you don't want something to look, if it's too smooth it can look weird when everything else is textured. But looking at the vex, that's kind of the sense I got from their skin, was just random noise. So that's what I added in here. And this is the main thing about this whole sculpt that I'm not sure about. It's something I could always go in and fix up later. But let me know what you guys think, if you think that the noise texture looks cool, or if I should have tried something different, just made it look like skin or scales or something else. Also in the game, vexes can fly through objects, so I thought it would be kind of cool to have these two vexes kind of floating out of the ground, and this other one on the shoulder, but the two floating out of the ground I thought made it look really cool. And there it is. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, this one was a little bit rushed, so hopefully in the future I'll have more time to really flesh these guys out a little bit better, but I'm pretty happy with it considering the amount of time I actually had to finish the sculpt. Let me know what you guys think down below. And like I said in my past video, if you guys want me to work on any specific sculpts, just let me know in the comments. I'll probably do it. Someone asked me to do a vex last week, and that's why I did it this week. I was going to do a vex eventually, but the reason I did it so soon was because of that guy asking me for it. So definitely, if you want to see me do something specific, hit me up down in the comments, and there's a good chance I'll do it. I also want to mention I have an Instagram and an Etsy account. Those are both at Zane Customs, and you can check those out. There's a link in the description. Anything you see me sculpt on here, you can purchase off my Etsy store as a 3D printed model. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much. I super appreciate anybody that's willing to watch these videos, and I'll see you next week.